It's pretty normal to expect a long time a company of your pet frog. Hence, some frog lovers tend to research a while about pet frog lifespan before buying any frog. Not to mention each frog has a different average lifespan. So, I have tried to bring out the comparison of lifespan between different frogs in this article. In this video, you will get to know the average lifespan of different frogs, depending on factors above lifespan and other related queries. How long do pet frogs live in captivity? The average lifespan of a certain frog depends on its environment and fulfillment of its basic needs. Considering all influencing factors, several researchers found out that the lifespan of a frog in captivity is greater than the lifespan of that frog in the wild. The lifespan of frogs is up to 18 years in the wild. In captivity, pet frogs can survive around 4 to 20 years under proper surveillance and care. Also, there are records of pet frogs living up to 40 years in captivity. However, there are dramatic variations in lifespan among different pet frogs in captivity. Pending factors of pet frogs' lifespan. Factors put significant effects on the lifespan of your pet frog. Providing equal facilities cannot ensure the equal lifespan of different frogs. On the other hand, the lifespan may depend on the physical ability, breed, etc. Some species of frogs age faster than others. So, let's take a look at the depending factors of pet frogs' lifespan. 1. Variation of species. Several kinds of research show that the average lifespan of frogs varies according to species. Different genetic structures and heredity, there are differences in the limit of the frog lifespan. Same goes for varieties of frogs and their other species. For example, toads can survive around 30 to 40 years in captivity. And spring peeper frogs can live long for 3 to 6 years in captivity. Gender, do male or female frogs live longer? Surprisingly, gender plays a significant role in the mortality rate of pet frogs. Due to hormonal influences on the body and other biological factors, female frogs live longer than male frogs. Pieces of research show that the pet female frogs tend to live 3 to 5 years longer than the pet male frogs. Generally, the average lifespan of male tree frogs is around 5 years. On the other hand, the female tree frogs can survive around 7 to 9 years. 3. Size of pet frogs. The lifespan of pet frogs depends on the frog size too. The experts and researchers confirmed that bigger frogs have a higher lifespan than smaller frogs. A pet frog has a slower metabolic rate than a pet frog of a smaller size. Because of being large, a frog has more cells and expends more energy. Reason, if you provide all basic needs and facilities, your pet frog will survive longer than smaller frogs. 4. Acclimation in new habitat. When you bring a new frog to your home, it's on the frog size too. The experts and researchers confirmed that bigger frogs have a higher lifespan than smaller frogs. A bigger pet frog has a slower metabolic rate. 5. Proper tank setup is a crucial factor to improve the lifespan of your pet frog. You should set up the tank according to your frog type. For example, if you prepare a terrestrial tank set up for arboreal frogs, your frog will not live long. You should add tank accessories and decor, considering your frog's nature. For burrower frogs like Pac-Man frogs, you should keep a thick substrate level. 6. Abundance of food. Some owners remain careless about bringing up their frogs. There are several cases where the frog owners do not provide nutritional food in an appropriate amount. The frogs fall sick because of malnutrition. Thus, the average lifespan of the frog gets shorter. A proper diet, an abundance of food, and an accurate feeding schedule play a great role in keeping your frog touch the limit of its lifespan. 7. Predators or wrong tank mates. The main reason for the shorter lifespan of wild frogs is their predators. Although there should not be any predators of pet frogs in captivity, wrong tank mates can take the life of your frogs. There are a few things to consider while choosing tank mates for your pet frog. such as the age, size, temperament, tank requirements of your pet frog, and the chosen tank mates. Aggressive tank mates for your shy frog, your pet frog will not survive long. There remain risks of getting hurt. Your pet frog may remain stressed due to sharing the tank with big and aggressive tank mates. 8. Accurate humidity and temperature. Some frogs hail from high humid areas, whereas some hail from hot areas. If you fail to keep accurate humidity and temperature according to your frog's requirements, your pet frog will not live long. Tree frogs and Pac-Man frogs for this example. These frogs cannot survive in humidity lower than 60%. On the other hand, some frogs need the heat of an ideal range to thrive in. Both humidity and temperature level act as a significant depending factor for limiting the lifespan of pet frogs. 9. Right water parameters. Frogs are fully aquatic, and also some frogs are semi-aquatic. So, if you keep these frogs as pets, you must ensure the constant availability of fresh water. Also, certain frogs, like African dwarf frogs, are susceptible to ammonia, nitrite, chlorine, and so on. Only a bit of ammonia in water can kill your pet dwarf frogs. For this, these African dwarf frogs need a water filtration system in their tank. On the other hand, if you provide tap water without dechlorination, it will also shorten the lifespan of your pet frogs. 10. Proper maintenance and care. No wonder proper maintenance and care influence the lifespan of the pet frogs. Pet frogs remain sensitive to handling. In this case, you must avoid touching your pet frogs. Also, regular cleanliness is a must to avoid potential diseases of pet frogs. How old is the oldest pet frog? According to surveys, there are records of White's tree frogs touching the longest lifespan among pet frogs. A specimen of White's tree frog was around 40 years old. The frog life cycle. From the egg phase to adulthood is the life cycle of a frog. There are considered 3 stages in a frog's life cycle. These are egg, tadpoles, and adult phases. But if you notice details, you will find multiple phases in the entire lifespan of a frog. Egg, larvae, tadpole, tadpoles with legs, froglets, juvenile frogs, young frogs, adult frogs, etc. The frog life cycle take. It depends on the species of frogs. It can take around 2 to 4 years to complete its life cycle. The life cycle of a frog starts with the egg phase. Cycle, it takes almost 6 to 12 weeks to turn into tadpoles from eggs. On the other hand, a tadpole takes around 14 weeks to grow into an adult frog. How many frogs make it to adulthood? You may notice thousands of eggs or tadpoles of frogs. There remain only a few frogs making it to adulthood. Only 2% eggs of frogs can turn into tadpoles. Besides, in the case of tadpoles, around 8% of tadpoles survive until becoming froglets. Lastly, 0.1% of froglets can make it to their adulthood. A frog live without water. Depends on the type of pet frog. That is because terrestrial frogs can enjoy some time without water, whereas water is a must for the survival of fully aquatic frogs. The survival phase without water can get higher if the frogs remain in the hibernation period. Besides, several frogs require a high level of humidity in the tank to keep their skin moist. If you do not mist often, the skin of those frogs will dry out. Eventually, those frogs will die without water. On the other hand, a well-fed frog can also live without water a few days more from the mentioned time of the above chart. How long can a frog live without food? Have known that baby frogs require daily feeding. Also, you must provide quality food to your adult pet frogs 3 to 4 times per week. In the case of baby frogs, these babies can hardly live 4 to 5 days without food. And if you keep your adult pet frogs of average health without food, these frogs will survive only 1 to 2 weeks in this way. However, if you feed your pet adult frogs well from beforehand, these frogs can live for 3 to 4 weeks without food. Improve the lifespan of pet frogs. Ensure the right environmental condition, your pet frog will not die early. Although frogs have different longevity depending on their species and gender, you can improve their lifespan by maintaining several simple rules. Let's check out the following rules by which you can improve your pet frog's lifespan a few years longer. Choosing the right tank of ample space. Choosing insects as a staple food and treats. Carefully gut loading and dusting insects before feeding. Choosing insects of appropriate size, not overfeeding your pet frog. Keeping compatible tank mates according to your pet frog's nature. Ensuring continuous access to fresh water without harmful chemicals. Avoid using ingestible and abrasive substrate, not leaving any sharp objects in the tank. Changing the substrate regularly to avoid infections. Appropriate UV lighting to help metabolize calcium. Attaching thermostat with heat sources to prevent any fluctuations. Misting the tank often with safe water adjustment of good filtration for aquatic frogs. Creating the right environment for breeding purposes. Avoiding handling your pet frog without any emergency. Maintaining cleanliness of the frog tank. Seeking professional help when you notice any signs of health problems.